I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Yes or no? Did you ever take banned substances to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes.
I had no prior knowledge of the planned assault on Nancy Kerrigan.
I am deeply sorry for my irresponsible and selfish behavior I engaged in.
What's up, guys? This is Oops the Podcast. I'm Giulio Gallerati.
I'm Francis.
And here we are. Another great episode. We have a wonderful guest today. Our good pal, comedian Doug Smith.
Yo, yo, yo. Thanks
doing,
for having
man?
me, boys.
You weren't sure if you were going to talk there.
Yeah, I'm always worried about stepping on toes on podcasts.
Step away,
Podcasts
buddy.
are weird.
Got to get that intro out.
You're the
Tap
guest of
dance.
honor here.
Tap dance. We're here for you.
Doug has an album coming out. What date does it drop? Is it out?
It's already out. Yeah,
Okay,
December
cool.
3rd it came out.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. And
I'm all
it's
washed
called
up.
Barely
I'm a has-been.
Regal.
Yeah, Barely Regal.
Is this your
Give
first
it a
album?
stream. First album, yep.
Congrats, man.
Nice.
Thanks, man.
You can find it on Spotify, iTunes, everywhere.
Everywhere you
Apparently
can stream
Pandora is the #1 hub for comedy listening. Did you know that?
Did not know that.
I haven't
Pandora,
listened
baby.
to Pandora in 10 years, but
No, nor have I.
it.
yeah.
Corner in the comedy market.
That's cool. Are you going to have it also go, hopefully, to like Sirius or any of those places?
Yes. Yeah.
I hear that's a good place for comedy.
where the buck
You know,
So,
get the old,
Yeah, the
Brajo.
guapo. I don't know if that means money. I don't think it does.
Guap does.
I think it does,
Wow.
yeah.
The bag.
The bag? Is that what it means?
Spank
Literally
it- spank
translates
the
to?
bag.
No, that's not. That's another
Oh.
term.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
The bag?
The bag. You will secure the bag.
I may get a bag of money over the course of the next 10 years.
Let's hope so, man.
Let's hope. Doug has a comedy album out, and we've also seen him on Conan. We've also seen him on This Is Not Happening, which I love This Is Not Happening, and I specifically love your This Is Not Happening. In fact, I blogged it when I was working at
You did.
the old Barstool Sports. The old, gotta say it at least once an episode. I feel like I
That's
just
actually the
mentioned
first time you've said it in a while, to be honest.
Okay, good.
Yeah, dude, I didn't know that you worked for Barstool until that came out.
Oh, fun.
Because I used to see you like at shows and mics and stuff, and I thought you were just this sweetheart of a handsome wasp. And then I found out you're this big swinging dick for Barstool.
Oh, gosh.
A superstar.
Well, it's possible that we would do shows before I started working there. And then
Probably,
I got that job.
yeah.
I started working there in 2016.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it was cool. Because I would occasionally start writing about sets that I'd seen that I really liked. I once blogged John Rudnitsky's Conan set, where he did this great bit about playing football, and he just like mimed the whole thing in slow motion. And I blogged it, and then he reached out to me and was like, "Thanks so much." And I was like, "Wow, you know, where are they seeing this? Like, is it a good thing? I guess maybe, maybe it's good to be featured. I don't know." But your This Is Not Happening was one of the most insane, incredible turns on comedy that I'd ever seen.
Thanks, man.
And,
Wound up being the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah, I mean, it is.
I need to find that guy and have him slash me again.
Yeah, it's your
A
story,
little boost.
right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you've told it a million times, but would you give us a quick recounting of what happened?
Me and a rapist were fighting over the same woman, and he won.
That's the log line.
I think it's important to
Ha-ha!
you were fighting on behalf of her. You were her champion, and he was her rapist. That's what.
Yeah,
it was,
yeah. I mean, I'm assuming that's where he was headed with it. It was in the 2nd Avenue subway station. There was this, young white girl screaming. He was trying to rip her purse away and tear her clothes off and punch her in the face, and nobody was doing anything. And that's a busy station too. But everybody was like,
What
"Ooh."
time of night was it?
Like 10 o'clock on a Thursday.
Okay.
I was
How
leaving.
able-bodied
You guys remember
is this
Cabin? I was leaving Cabin.
Yeah. All right.
Headed back to Park Slope.
It's like the best show at
Yeah.
the time.
And
Must be nice.
yeah,
Never
should
did
have
it.
stayed a little longer. Yeah, so I just nobody's doing anything, and I yelled some shit out to him, and he let her go, and he came after me, and I was kind of amped up because I'd never been in a fight in my life, and I thought, well, what better time than now? I'm gonna fucking lay this guy out. So he came at me, and I stepped in and swung, and I was still like this far away from him when I swung, so just whew, big swing and a miss. He stepped in, hit me, and I didn't realize he had a razor blade in his hand. So I was about to turn and get on the train, Well, I can't. After he hit me, I came back, kicked him in the balls. He ran out of the station. I was like, yeah, I fucking showed him. I had no idea that he had a razor blade in his hand. So a woman stopped me and told me I had blood streaming down my face. Walked me up to the street and
You didn't even feel it.
no,
Holy shit.
no.
I think you've told me that before.
Didn't
That's
feel
crazy,
anything.
man.
Was that because of
Just
the
felt the
adrenaline?
warmth of the blood. I think it was the adrenaline and just like when a blade just slices through you that
clean,
fast,
yeah.
it's just like,
don't feel it right
hot
now.
knife through butter,
How able-bodied was this guy? I've always wondered that. Like, was he a guy
So
who
they
hadn't
caught him.
showered for a few days, or did he seem? You know what I mean? Did he
Yeah.
seem with it to some degree?
No. So he was, they caught him like 3 days later. He was a 51-year-old homeless guy.
Gotcha.
His only priors were like public intoxication. They found him outside the same station wearing the same clothes. He didn't go into hiding at all. He was like, this is the spot for punching ladies.
So he's
Yeah.
one of these like wiry bums who are known for being scrappy.
Dude, I'm going to
Yeah.
step in, all right? I like to picture him as one of those guys who does pull-ups on like street posts
Right.
and uses Manhattan as
Right.
his gym.
Uses the
Yeah.
infrastructure.
And
Dude
is
from
able
a
to like hold
DMX
him,
video.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
hold himself in a plank on a fire hydrant for hours.
Yeah.
And just, doesn't wear a
It's
shirt.
resistance training.
That's funny.
Yeah,
That's
have
what
a-
Rio's like, man. Everyone's just working out all over the entire city. All the
Yeah.
time. It's pretty crazy.
My ass
damn.
kicked by a parkour master.
Yeah.
So was he big,
No, he was like pretty much the exact same size as me.
skinny?
Yeah, slender. Yeah. That's why I thought, this will be a fair fight at least.
So he had
Yeah.
already slashed you after you had kicked, or before you had kicked him in the balls, and you didn't even
Yeah.
realize it.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
the entirety of the violent exchange was you swing and miss.
Yep.
He swings, slices your face,
Connects.
and then you kick him in the balls.
I come back, kick him in the balls. Yep.
Did that affect him? Did he crumple, or was he?
He backed up and ran out, but I think it's because he saw what he had done to my face.
right.
I think he was like, all right, damage is done. Let me get out of here.
So let's take a quick look at the scar on your face. It is dramatic.
You think so? Oh, okay. Good.
No,
I think it's
but
faded a lot.
in a good way.
Yeah.
I say that because what better badge of honor to wear? People are afraid, I think, often to ask people how they got a scar, but
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
your story will ingratiate you to any dinner party or any, whatever it may be. My God, you cannot but acknowledge your heroism in that.
My only regret is I was engaged at the time that this happened, so I never got to cash in on any of that scar pussy, any of that hero puss.
Hate to see it.
Scar pussy.
Dude, I gotta say, you have fantastic skin.
Yeah.
I'm admiring.
Oh man,
I'm
well,
admiring
dude,
your
I feel like
face.
I still got a couple. That's one of the perks of giving up drinking, dude. I had like for the last. I was telling these
You're
guys
glowing,
before the pod
bro.
started.
You look hot.
Dewy. I moisturize. Yeah, for 18 years, dude. I had started drinking when I was 18. I wasn't even drinking that. Well, I was drinking heavily for a number of years. The last few years, it was just like maintenance, just like a beer or two a night. Not
100%.
even enough to get drunk, just bloated and tired,
Yeah.
And then I'd had acne, depression, IBS for years, and I tried everything else in the. I cut gluten out. I quit drinking coffee for 2 years. I was vegan for a month back in the spring.
Just the booze.
Yeah, it was just the booze.
You look
And now
fucking great.
now I'm finally telling people about it now, because when I was vegan, I told everybody like a week in. I was like, "This is the new me. This is my lifestyle."
Wow. Do you think you'll ever go back?
I don't think so.
Let
I
me
think
ask you
weed. I think
this.
weed and seltzer is all I need.
Yeah.
So that's actually my next. What I'm working on now is I was raised a Jehovah's Witness. I don't know if you knew that.
I did
That's
not.
crazy.
First 20 years of my life was deep in the trenches.
Going door to door?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy
Oh,
shit.
let's get into that.
So
Whew, this is great.
This is fantastic.
What a great new door to open.
knock.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ding dong, it's Sunday at 8 a.m. Want to hear about Armageddon?
Oh my god.
I didn't mean to cut you off though. You that's what you're working on now? Working on
Yeah.
jokes about that?
So like I had done jokes about being raised a Jehovah's Witness before, but that's one of those things that people are so, for the most part, so clueless about.
Mhm.
They'll know one or two things, like, oh, you go door to door, you can't celebrate birthdays, but like all in all, it's a very kind of blurry picture that people have of it. So I had tried doing jokes about it over the years, but I felt like I was met with a lot of confusion from people that didn't really know the ins and outs of it. So I felt like, all right, this is something, now that I know I can do a 15-minute story, this is 20 years of my, that was a 30-second incident. This is 20 years of my life that I can, kind of trim the fat and take certain stories and plug some jokes in. So that's my next thing that I'm working on now, is trying to do like a themed stand-up show about that.
Cool.
Yeah.
So do you feel the need to teach up top as you talk about Jehovah's Witness? To establish a baseline of understanding?
So that's the fine line, like you do, there is a certain amount of exposition required just to kind of, give people a foundation of what's involved with it. But I was kind of thinking a fun way to start the show might to just be like a question, start the show like a Q&A sort of thing of like people raising their hands and asking me questions, just for like a couple of minutes, or me being like, what do you know about Jehovah's Witnesses? Go. And just like being like a teacher and just writing it on a chalkboard.
Right.
And then kind of like dispelling some of those myths. Like you have people suggest crazy things. I've had people be like, oh, you're the guys that you can't cut your hair ever, right? It's like, well, clearly I've cut my hair at some point in my life. Or, you have to like fuck a live chicken and have a virgin sacrifice on your 13th birthday. It's like, no, those are the Jews, So
his words, not ours.
Well, dude, but the thing, anytime I've heard any details about Jehovah's Witnesses beliefs, they're kind of funny in and of themselves. So I feel like maybe, like you said, there's a bunch of good ways to tell people about it,
right.
But it seems like it's potentially funny. The process of informing is potentially hilarious as well.
Yeah.
I'm sure you found that or whatever.
Right.
Doug, I think now would be a good time if you would give us that first paragraph of the Wikipedia page of Jehovah's Witnesses, the broad strokes.
The first paragraph. Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying? And then
What
when
do we-
Wikipedia, the first paragraph is always like, this is what it is, and then they get into like timeline and all that.
Okay, I think I can do this. So Jehovah's Witnesses, it's a sect of Christianity that is based entirely on biblical teachings, and they believe that God put Adam and Eve on this earth. They sinned, bringing imperfection into humankind, and Jesus died for our sins, and it is now our duty as God-fearing humans to devote our lives to spreading the good word, as they say, about Jehovah and his teachings, and the fact that Armageddon is real. Everything bad that's happening in the world is a sign of the times, a sign of the end times. So Armageddon is close at hand, and they believe that if you are an upstanding member of the organization, you will survive Armageddon, and the earth will be replenished into a paradise earth where you can live forever, and all deceased Jehovah's Witnesses will be resurrected from the dead to live together with man and beast in harmony on this paradise earth.
Interesting.
Wow.
So now this might be one of those stupid questions, but I've heard that there's only a limited number of spaces.
So you're talking about the 144,000. That's another
thing.
Important point.
See? This is
there's a select few Jehovah's Witnesses, 144,000, that believe that they have received some sort of divine calling, that they are to rule with Jesus in heaven when they die. So the only holiday that Jehovah's Witnesses celebrate is the memorial of Jesus' death. So it's the only one we celebrate.
Gotcha.
And it's kind of similar to a Catholic mass in that there's wine and unleavened bread passed around. And if you believe that you're one of these 144,000, then you partake. So I maybe saw, in 20 years, saw one person partake, and it's always like, whoa, he's one of the dudes.
Bunch.
You know?
But what could stop you? Yeah.
Who chooses those people?
That's just it. Like,
that guy was like,
I'm one of them. Like, apparently they believe that I don't know whether it comes to them in a dream or a vision or what, but they think that they have some sort of divine calling to rule with Jesus in heaven.
In a way.
Yeah.
And
it has parallels to other.
Yeah. Does anybody look at that guy and be like, what a cocky dick. Like, who does he think he is?
There goes Gary again.
I watched him
Drinking the wine.
That fucking
picking his
lush.
nose out back as he looked through the trash the other
Like,
day.
Gary, I'm hungry too, man.
Yeah.
Come on.
His wife's a 4. Like, come on. There's no chance Gary is going to one of the 144,000. Also, 144,000? That's not that elite of a number. Like, it's a lot of
a
people.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. So does anyone frown upon that?
At the time, I didn't. I always thought it was kind of like, whoa, look at he's one of the guys. He's one of the chosen ones. Now, if I saw that, yes, I would definitely think that. But when I was young and brainwashed, I thought it was legit.
Well, but are you still practicing?
Now?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so you wouldn't only think that this guy isn't one of the elite, but you'd also be like, Gary's a fucking moron.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What brought about your detachment from the church?
So, man, we're taking a deep dive. I love this. So my mom started the whole thing. So she's one of the few people that was converted by somebody knocking on her door. So I was knocking on doors from the time I was 6 years old. I wouldn't even have to say anything. You know, you just rely on cuteness at that age. You just bat your eyelashes and hand them a pamphlet, and you know, people are usually nice. Then as you get older, you know, everyone's true colors start. I had people release dogs on me. I had people threaten to pull their gun out. And this is in Ridgefield, Connecticut. I'm not
Holy
talking about
shit.
like Camden,
It's like a
New
nice
Jersey.
suburb.
Yeah, yeah. So people like hated us. So it was like legit scary going door to door because you never knew what you were going to walk into. Every now and then people would be very friendly, invite you in, offer you like a snack or something, and you could sit down and talk to them. But more often than not, they would slam the door in your face. So my mom... When my dad got out of the Marine Corps, he was still stationed in South Carolina. They were living in South Carolina. Somebody came to their door. She was from a very kind of disillusioned Protestant upbringing, alcoholic parents. So she kind of gravitated toward it because when you're in it, it's almost similar to Hasidism. Like it's a really tight-knit community. Right. It's like a family you're taken care of. So she gravitated toward it for those reasons. And my dad kind of just like went along with it. He didn't really give a shit. So she raised...
That's great. I love it. Ah, whatever. Listen to your mother.
Fine. Yeah. So she raised all my older siblings that way. And then they, one at a time, they were like, this is not for me. So they trickled off one by one when they were teenagers. So then when I was born, I'm 14 years younger than my closest sister in terms of age.
How many siblings do you have?
3.
Okay.
So when I was born, my mom was like, all right, you're my last hope. And she basically like said as much. So I had tremendous pressure on me growing up to be the one that didn't fuck up because it was so important to my mom that I just felt like a lot of pressure to not blow it and really, you know, stay on the path. So she wound up having a brain aneurysm and dropping dead overnight when I was 17.
Oh my God. Dude.
So then my dad and we kept it up for another 3 years just because that was our world, you know, that was our community. We didn't know anything differently. We didn't necessarily want to keep doing it, but like we had no other frame of reference, you know?
Right.
So we kept doing it for another 3 years, just miserable, like the worst 3 years of my life. And then finally when I was 20, I pretty much had like a nervous breakdown, and I at dinner one night with him, I was like, I gotta talk to you, and he's like, what is it? And I was like, I had tears streaming down my face. I was like, I gotta tell you something. He's like, I think I know what you're gonna tell me. And he's like, you do? I was like, you do? And he goes, you don't want to be a Jehovah's Witness anymore. And I was like, how did you know? And he's like, fuck, man, I don't want to either.
What a nice moment, man.
It's such a great story.
Coming of age tale.
It's so not how that scene ever goes in movies, you know?
That's great.
Oh, that's
still
great.
To this day the closest I've ever felt to my dad. Like we hugged, we're sobbing, we're like, all right. It just the huge relief, the weight lifted off our shoulders, even though we knew that we were going to have to completely start over because again, similar to Hasidism, once you leave, you are done. Like you might as well be dead. You're completely excommunicated. So I was totally ready to pull the trigger on that, though. I was like, you know, ready to hit the reset button and start over.
Wow.
So then what'd you do?
So then I moved down to, I just needed to get out of my parents' house. I needed to get out of the town I grew up
This is in
in.
Ridgefield?
Yeah. So I moved down to Silver Spring where one of my older brothers was living. He was like, just get out of the house. Silver Spring, Maryland.
Okay.
So he's like, just get out of the house. You can come down here, live with me for a while, help you get a job. So he did. I moved down there. I got my first apartment in DC, my own like 1-bedroom apartment. I was like working at a plant nursery, and I was just like loving life. I mean, I was just so grateful to have fucking freedom for once in my life. And then finally, after a year living there, I wanted to live here from the age of like 10, but I didn't really have any roots here. So that's why I went down to DC, because at least I had, my brother was there. But the weird thing about leaving the Jehovah's Witness religion is all these things that I couldn't do growing up, no drinking, no drugs, I couldn't go to school dances, I couldn't play sports, no premarital sex. I felt like I had to do so much catching up that I completely just went off the rails. So I moved to New York to do stand-up, and I was just a fucking degenerate drunk slut for 4 years. That's like all I did. Just the pursuit of just drunkenness and pussy,
Yeah.
So
I mean, dude, fully well deserved, though, dude. You earned it.
And I'm
just picturing you like going home with a girl for the night and having like 7 rounds of sex, and her being like, where do you get your virility from? And you being like, Armageddon, the threat of Armageddon, we gotta get it in.
Dude, it's so funny that you mentioned that, because I wound up I had a job like this. Do you remember those dudes? I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. They're dudes that used to hang out like in Washington Square Park, Union Square. They would basically sell like spa passes to women on the street. Have you seen this? No. They'd be like, hey, where'd you get your haircut? And then they sell like a $60 voucher to a salon where you get like a haircut and a manicure. And it's legit, but you have to pay for it on the spot, which getting people in New York to shell out cash on the street is insane. But I did that for a year when I first moved here. And there was a girl that I worked with that I was like, had such a crush on. She was this beautiful Polish girl, and she wound up quitting. I never saw her again. I wound up reconnecting with her like 3 years later. She came back to my place. We had sex, and it was like, this is a dream. I can't believe this is happening. I like pined for this girl for a solid year. So we were having sex. I came. She didn't know I came. So she started giving me head, and she was like, are you going to come yet? And I was like, oh, I already came like 10 minutes ago. She's like, how are you still hard? I was like, I have a pretty crazy upbringing.
That is great, dude.
Your regenerative properties are just off the charts through
That's
so
incredible.
many 2 decades of suppression sexually.
That 2-nut rod, dude.
I have so many great questions
That's
about
awesome.
this. For one, I have more questions about the religion. The first is, do they have a suspected date of the Armageddon? When is the end of times? No.
So that's the thing. I'm going to be 37 next month. I was, so from 1983 until, the entire duration of my stint as a Jehovah's Witness, they were making it seem like it was around the corner, like it could happen tomorrow. Because you can take into account world events any given day, whether it's,
9/11,
Hutus and Tutsis in Africa, or 9/11, or like
global warming.
Even like back during World War II, I'm sure they would have used the concentration camps as a sign of like, see, this is a sign of the times. So they're constantly able to put a spin on current events and make it sound like that Armageddon is imminent.
Doom.
So they'll never give you like a definite
I see.
date. They're just constantly able to be like, you see what's happening?
To read the tea leaves, yeah.
It's fast approaching.
In Mormonism, there is a lot of survivalism, kind of radical people who stockpile. I just read this book called Educated, which was pretty cool. This young woman was raised in a Mormon survivalist family that believed that
Was it like Latter-day Saints?
Yeah, but they lived in Idaho, and they really believed that the end of times was coming, and so they would stockpile stuff, gasoline and food and supplies. Are there Jehovah's Witnesses that create
that's a good question.
bomb shelters and prepare.
Believe it or
for
not,
the-
there isn't. And I think it's probably because you're pretty much taught that when Armageddon does happen, they basically make it seem like the world can be collapsing all around you, but you will be protected.
almost like that movie. The end. This is the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like in Game of Thrones when Daenerys like emerges from the ashes,
Oh yeah.
Right,
completely naked, and she's like completely unscathed. It's almost like that.
Like
They
using
think
the
that-
codes in a
Yeah.
video game.
So you and your dad both simultaneously recognize in each other this longing to move on.
Yeah.
Do you feel as though, did you later learn that both of you had been longing to leave, but you thought the other wanted to stay? Was that something?
Yeah.
That's
So we
crazy.
were both kind of doing it for a number of reasons. A, we didn't have any other. It was our community. We didn't have anything outside of that. We were both sheltered for so long. B, out of respect for my mom, just continuing to do it because it was so important to her. And even though we wanted to move on, like, I had friends, he had friends, like, it's a very tight-knit community. Right. So like, and they make it, they discourage a lot of stuff to keep you in the fold. So like, how Hasids, like, they really frown upon any secular education. They almost like handicap children so they can't adapt in the real world. And it's kind of similar to Jehovah's Witnesses. Like school was,
you can't go to college.
Yeah, like I actually did go to art school for 2 years, but I had to commute from home. That was like the caveat.
Gotcha.
Was like I couldn't live on campus.
Gotcha.
So I was a fucking MTA Metro North commuter for 2 years, going to SVA and back every day, which is brutal. So, yeah, it was my dad and I both doing it like, well, I guess we should keep doing this. And at first when I told him that and he was like, yeah, I'm out too, it was a relief. But then at the same time, I was pissed at him because like I had to fucking pull the trigger on this.
Yeah.
Like what if I didn't say anything? How long would we keep doing this?
Right.
He's
You
the
know?
father figure.
That's
Yeah.
tough.
How was your relationship with your siblings once they had already defected?
It was very, so my oldest brother, they all like defected hard. So
Yeah.
like they all went off the rails when they, like my oldest brother was involved in like, got caught up in cocaine and gambling, and he was like on the lam for a couple of years. Like he was in Arizona for a couple of years. I didn't even see him for a while. Another brother of mine, got really into motorcycles. Then he joined the Marines, and then he married a Catholic girl. And that was like a triple whammy to my mom because it's like this,
Right.
Yeah.
Don't kill yourself on a motorcycle. That has nothing to do with religion, but any mom's going to freak out about that.
Yeah.
And then the military, Jehovah's Witnesses are neutral, so they're very anti-military. So when he joined the Marines, her head exploded. And then he married a Catholic girl, and then he converted to Catholicism. So that again put so much more pressure on me because she was so devastated by that I felt even more pressure to not fuck up,
Right.
Yeah, bro.
Interesting though that your mother was bummed out that your brother joined the Marine Corps when your father had been in the military himself. Okay. So
Well, okay. What your classmates at SVA? Did
Yeah.
you hide the fact that you were a Jehovah's Witness from them?
I did, yeah. And I hid it all through school as much as I could because there's really no explaining that to people.
Right.
And it sucked too because like, I would get invited to go to school dances or go over to friends' houses or whatever, and you can't really say, I'm a Jehovah's Witness. They don't know what that means,
Right.
So I would just have to like lie about other plans. Be like, I got to go visit my grandma this weekend.
Right.
And it just gets exhausting,
yeah.
Was part of you worried that they might make you confront the rationale if there was like an outside perspective on it? If you were like, yeah, we believe this, people are like, yeah, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah,
you were afraid
yeah.
of it.
And I knew they would because I knew it was crazy to
Right.
some extent. I mean, up until I became a teenager, I went along with it. I was a good boy,
Yeah.
And I still was up until the point that my mom died. But like a year or two before she died, I started questioning things and wanting to stray a little bit. Wanting to play sports, wanting to go to school dances.
Totally.
Perfectly normal teenage shit. So I knew that if I told friends of mine that I was Jehovah's Witness, they wouldn't understand it. They wouldn't think that was like a valid reason. They would just be like, well, fuck them. Just do what you want to do, you know?
Right.
And my siblings did do that. Like my brother, he had girlfriends. He had lost his virginity when he was 16. He used to go to parties, but like it was more difficult for my parents then because they're all 2 years apart. So they can't keep tabs on them as easily. Whereas with me, I came around so much later
You're
that they could
effectively
put
an only
all
child.
their yeah, they could put all their focus on me.
Crazy, dude.
Do you regret having spent so much time as a Jehovah's Witness?
Believe it or not, I don't. It's taken me years to come to that conclusion, years of therapy and anger and frustration, but I don't regret it because it has made me way more grateful for things that I think other people take for granted.
Like
Just general freedoms, just being able to. Jehovah's Witnesses have church services 3 times a week. So Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, Tuesday night, Thursday night, Sunday afternoon, were spent at the Kingdom Hall listening to people preaching.
how long were those services?
Like 2 hours.
Oh.
And then that's not including going door to door. And then in the summertime, my mom would make me devote an entire month to going door to door, like
Every day?
60 hours a month. Yeah.
And how often are you supposed to be doing that?
It's kind of on an honor system, you know. They want to know that you're actively doing it, but it's not like you don't really have to log your hours so much unless you want to like make a real commitment to doing it. So just that, dude, like even almost 20 years later, Thursday at like 6:00, I'll be like, I gotta go to a meeting. Oh, I don't have to go to a meeting tonight.
That's nice.
You
That's
know?
crazy.
So it's made me
Mm-hmm.
just grateful for a life of freedom, being able to make my own choices. But it's had a profound effect on my level of guilt, feeling terrible guilt anytime I do anything that would have formerly been frowned upon. One of the things that I have a bit about, and this is a true story. How did you grow up?
Episcopalian,
Episcopalian.
But with a total, checked out attitude all around. We were not serious.
It wasn't okay.
I
How
was,
about you?
I was just talking about this earlier, actually. Baptized, and then we experimented with different sects of Christianity, but
Right.
hands off kind of thing.
So, like, I think it's across the board. Christianity frowns upon premarital sex and masturbation, right? It's kind of frowned upon, but it's not like
I never learned that.
Catholicism does,
never
yeah.
learned
But I
that.
don't know about Christianity all around.
I have no idea.
yeah, maybe not. I mean, Jehovah's Witnesses, it's like a punishable offense. So, like, I used to feel so guilty about masturbating that every time I did it, I would punish myself and I would charge myself a fine. I would put $5 in a jar to donate to the church. Swear to God. So I worked
crazy.
Dude,
like
I would've
crazy
given
after school jobs.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars to the church if
Oh,
I'd been following that.
I did, dude. And it would like, but that would like prevent me from doing it, you know?
Yeah.
And I'd like a few after school jobs, and I would spend my money would either go towards CDs or like going in the jerk off fund,
That's crazy.
and there would be times where I'm like, oh man, I really want to get that. I really want to get that new Wu-Tang album. I can't rub one out tonight,
Yeah, and also I like the thought of thinking of
That's
like
amazing.
of them giving a tour of some like new hot spanking new church and
Yeah.
then be like, well, and this is of course the wing that was donated by Doug's sperm.
The house that cum built.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was
yeah.
wondering. Yeah, like I was thinking. Yeah, like I assumed maybe you would go on more doorsteps or something, or whatever. But like,
You don't get paid for that.
Right, but,
No.
but is there
Right?
some kind of incentive though when you recruit someone?
No, not really. Just knowing that you've added to the flock of God's
Children.
chose. Yeah.
Did you guys keep track of which houses you'd hit so that you wouldn't
Yes.
double back?
And I'd love to see what it's like now in terms of, the way that technology's advanced.
yeah.
When I was growing up, we had like a territory card with a map of the neighborhood with like, shittily drawn streets and street names.
Yeah.
And then you would write down the house you went to. whether they were home or not home, whether they were interested or not interested. And unless they were like vehemently opposed and screaming in your face, you would keep going back.
Wow.
And if something bad happened, like they let out a German Shepherd on your ass or threatened to pull a gun, you'd make a note of that, to skip that house next time.
It's good to know.
Yeah.
But I learned a lot of tricks over, because I didn't want to, that was another thing, like my congregation would go door to door in like 5 different towns in the area, but one of those towns was the town I grew up in. So every now and then I would knock on a door and a kid from school would answer the door, which is just horribly, like then you have to be like, yeah, I'm a Jehovah, I do this on the weekends, and you just kind of like really kind of sweep it under the rug. I'm like, hey, I'll see you Monday later.
So people must have known that at your school.
Some people knew. Yeah, there were definitely some people that knew, but I kept it hidden as much as I could. Yeah. And I would find ways to kind of like fudge it when I would go door to door. Like it would look like I was pushing the doorbell, but I would just kind of like push off to the side, And I would like go to doors by myself while like my parents were sitting in the car. So I'd like, feign a knock, be like, not home,
here. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And dude, that's like a wealthy town. And I imagine that would make it more difficult because, wealthy people, they have money and a lot of them are, I guess, well educated, especially in that part of Connecticut. Yeah. I just associate it with like people who are on the up and up. It must have made it much more difficult.
Yeah, because Jehovah's Witnesses, I think it appeals to people that are like disillusioned or looking for some sense of community, right. Or they're kind of lost and they need something.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was. Totally. I mean, it met with a lot of resistance for sure.
And I hate to make this parallel, but it sounds a lot like the way that people recruit terrorists.
Yeah.
With that same thing, they come over and give them bread and pat them on the head and say they love them or whatever. And 2 months later, you know what I mean? They're doing some shit they don't believe in or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe they do believe. Because it feels nice to have a community.
Man, if I had $1 for every head I cut off, I would have been able to jerk off so much more.
And buy so many Wu-Tang albums. Oh, it's great. Well, Doug, what a fascinating story. Thank you for joining us on Oops. We didn't ask you directly if you had any major oopses in your life, but I think your story fits well under some umbrella of that. You've got
20-year oops.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. You've got an album out. It's called Barely Regal. You can find that on iTunes, on Spotify, on all streaming services, Pandora. Take a listen there. Check out Doug's set on This Is Not Happening about his how he thwarted a rapist. And where can we find you on social media?
At WhoDougSmith on Twitter and Instagram. And I'm now running a weekly show at an art gallery in Long Island City, Plaxall Gallery, with National Lampoon. So every Friday at 10 p.m., come check us out.
Hell yeah.
The links are on my Instagram.
Awesome.
Giulio, anything?
January 10th, Fairfield Comedy Club. Connect people if you want to come out. And any of those Ridgefield folks who felt slighted by Doug knocking on their door, let's commiserate. So come check that out.
Nice. And he's not Giulio, of course. I'm at Francis C.C. Ellis. I'm at Helium Comedy Club in Philly, March 5th to the 7th. And we hope you guys stay secular out there. See ya.